So we come to our mindfulness segment. So with this segment, sometimes I'm just sharing thoughts about mindfulness. Other times I'm sharing like a practice or a technique. This week I wanted to share like a little bit of a mindfulness practice with you guys. So if you want to try this out with your knitting, feel free to pause the video, grab your knitting if you don't already have it, and you can practice this along with me as I'm kind of sharing it with you, prompting, guiding, whatever you want to call it. Or you don't have to do it right now. It's perfectly fine if you don't have to do it right now. And I suppose you can even skip this if you don't care. But this particular technique can be used, or practice can be used in any sort of setting. It's a very commonly taught and used mindfulness practice. It is often used as a grounding practice. And in fact, the most commonly used name for it is 5-4-3-2-1 grounding. And you might already be familiar with this technique. It is very widely taught and used. So if you've never used it with your knitting though, maybe this would be a new application for it. And if you're not familiar with this practice, then I hope that you find it useful and enjoyable. So whatever you would like to do to get settled, we'll start in just a moment. And again, you can use this in a variety of settings. So you could just use this sitting in, just your space in your room. You could use this outside to kind of absorb the nature around you. Right now it's autumn, so you could use this to maybe really connect with and be mindful of the natural autumnal world all around you. But you can use this at any time, and it's pretty great. So it uses all of the senses to absorb a lot of maybe safety data, and thus it gives the nervous system a lot of cues that like I am well and I am safe and I'm good. But it could also just be used to be centering and grounding, and it could be like a nice way to not just boost relaxation, but maybe happiness too, depending on how you're using it and what the setting is. So we'll just get right to it. So if you would like to practice this along with me, maybe get comfortable. If you have your knitting, just drawing your attention to your knitting, drawing your attention to maybe your breathing for a moment, noticing your lungs moving in and out as they breathe for you. And we're going to be using all 5 senses to observe and absorb the world around us for a few moments. So starting with the sense of sight, noticing and labeling to yourself, naming to yourself 5 things that you can see. And if you're knitting, maybe it is the yarn, maybe it's color of the yarn, maybe it's your needles, maybe it's things around the room. If you're outside, maybe it's a tree or a bird. And next, moving to the tactile sense of touch. So noticing and labeling to yourself 4 things that you can feel. Maybe actually reaching out and touching something, or if you have something in your hands like you're knitting, noticing what your needles feel like, the temperature, the texture, noticing what the yarn feels like. Maybe you notice your sweater on your shoulders. Now noticing 3 things that you can hear. Maybe it's the air conditioning unit, maybe it is your knitting needles, sound of my voice. If it's very quiet, maybe you can hear your own breathing. Maybe it's noises from the other room or across the street. And then noticing and labeling to yourself 2 things that you can smell. If you are knitting, maybe you smell your yarn. Maybe you smell the clothes you're wearing. Maybe you can smell your laundry detergent or deodorant, or maybe there's a candle. Maybe you smell a houseplant next to you that you've never sniffed before. And lastly, noticing one thing that you can taste. Maybe you have a snack or maybe a beverage with you. Maybe you can still taste a little bit of the last thing that you ingested. Or maybe you just notice what your mouth tastes like, because that counts too. Because how often do we sit and really pay attention to and notice, like, this is what my mouth tastes like. So that counts. And if you'd like, maybe ending with one long, deep inhale and exhale. And that is our practice for this week. It is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding. And there's nothing special about the numbers. You can do any number of any of them that you wish. You could do any variation of this. Like you can find all the green things in the room, or you can, find 10 different textures or temperatures to touch, or, you could do any kind of variation of this. But it is just bringing mindful awareness to your immediate surroundings using your senses. So I hope that was enjoyable or useful for you.